Hi. It seems like it's been a really long time since I've been doing one of these videos, but it hasn't really been that long. I've done a new one with blue cala patterns. Oh. Okay, that's a blooper that will stay in. Diesel has joined me this evening, so oh boy, that's something to see. Anyway, I have finished the first part of the Speedwell sling bag by Blue Cala Patterns, and my test pattern actually, or my little test project was this, and it's a really cute bag. It's really neat. I think you guys are going to absolutely love it, and it's got the zippers on the side, and it's got a pocket in here. It's got a slip pocket, and it has the zippered pocket in the back there. Then you can also open the whole thing up. It's got two slip pockets inside, and it's got lots of room. So I think you're going to love it. It's a really fun sew. There's one maybe new skill. Lots of you maybe haven't done binding. This was the first binding I've ever done in a bag. I have done it lots with quilting. It's not that different. Just you're going around some curves, but I think you'll be fine with it. You'll be able to follow along with me step by step. We're going to get through it, and it's going to be great. So in this segment, we're going to be doing cutting and interfacing, so and fusing. So I've got all of that covered for you. It's step by step. There's quite a few pieces, but I think if you go through it nice and methodically, you'll get through it just fine. The first one is always a little bit, there's a little more to it, or you have to kind of get organized and wrap your head around what you're doing, but I think you'll be fine. So welcome again, and let's get to it. Thanks. When you print off your pattern pieces, I don't know whether you do them just on paper or on cardstock, directly on cardstock, however you do it. What Celine has included in the pattern is actually pages 21 to 24. You have an option. You can print 2 of those pages each off. So 2 page 21s, 2 page 22s, etc. The reason being is that she's got the outside line, the solid line, is for your fabric pieces. Then there's an inside dotted line, and that is for cutting your peltex. So that all needs to be cut back. That's one of the reasons why we can all do them on our domestic machines, because we won't be sewing through peltex over peltex over peltex. So she's keeping it out of the seam allowance. So that is really good. So this is the main body. So of course, trim those back and cut them together. So you have the option. Either you can print 2 of these off, make one the pattern piece just for your peltex, or you can just print one off if you want. But then you have to do a nice 1/2 inch around the peltex on the main body. The other ones have a different seam allowance or a different peltex cutting back on them. So I don't know, I find it easier just to go ahead and print 2 pages off. So there's a few of them. Now this one is the tabs. Again, this one has a much smaller trim line that you have to do. Same with the thumb lock tab G on that page. And on this one, we've also got the top strap tab. So that's the only kind of different thing that you need to watch for that may confuse you. But however you intend to do it, I'm just letting you know that is something that she has put in this pattern, which I find very helpful. So anyway, that's it for the pattern pieces. Knowing to trim or to print off extra ones. So that is that. These are all my templates. that I've made out of the original pattern pieces. So you can kind of tell that I've got everything kind of color coded on them and everything as well. So I have both my original pattern pieces, or the main pattern pieces, and also peltex templates done as well. So I just wanted to show you those, and we'll get on with the rest of it. So this is another thing. I'm just going to show you this. This is me and my little kind of OCD organization part. It makes my life easier. We all have to do what we have to do to figure things out. And this is what works for me. Now, Celine has also included in the pattern the cutting charts. So that will really help a lot. But again, I'm visual and weird, maybe. I don't know. What I do is I go through all my pattern pieces, and I just have a few different colors of highlighters, and I highlight everything. So this pattern, this is the back gusset. I'm not going to show you every single pattern piece that I have. I'm just going to use these as an example. So I use yellow, or in this case, I used yellow for my lining fabric. So on this one, I highlighted, I need 2 sets mirror image of lining fabric. On my front pocket, I need 1 lining fabric. On my front zipper flap, I need 1 of lining fabric. On this little zipper side panel, I need 1 set of mirror image lining fabric. So every pattern piece that has lining is yellowed. Then my woven interfacing, pink on each of these. My exterior fabric is blue, and my fusible fleece here on these two is orange. So whatever works for you, that is one thing that for me, the more organized I can get in those regards, the less chance there is of me forgetting pattern pieces and then having to go and find them, or think that I must have printed them out, or I must have cut them out, and then I didn't, and so then I'm searching and I can't find them, and then that drives me absolutely crazy. So for my sanity, that's what I do. So you can use that or not. That's just one thing I do. Sorry, there's a little bit of a nasty glare on here, but you're still going to get the idea. This is what I've done for my pattern. I go to the dollar store and buy these little presentation folders, I guess they are. So it's a little plastic one, and then it's got all of the little folders inside. Again, it's just me and my OCD organization. But so I know from the outside which pattern is in this little book. So yours may look slightly different. I'm using the original version for the test version, so that's where I'm at with this. But again, going back to my color coding, I didn't have the color or the cutting chart to work with, so but it probably wouldn't have made any difference anyway. I probably still would have done this. So up here I have the pattern pieces. So I can just use my pattern pieces as my reference there. So as long as I have all of those cut out the way that I need to, I'm good. But there's the extras all the time. So there's the ones that are just rectangles or squares or whatever, that really there's no point in printing out a pattern piece because we can do it with our quilting rollers. So what I do there is I find, okay, all of this is the end of where my pattern pieces are. This is all stuff that I have to cut extra. So I go through and again I highlight fusible fleece. I've got interfacing, lining, exterior fabric. I go so far as to when I'm planning my fabrics. This one was for the original that I did in the burgundy and black. And my exterior fabric, on this one I wanted the contrast. So I didn't want the vinyl and I didn't want the burgundy. I had the contrasting black that matched the burgundy. So I just write on here contrast. So I can just kind of plan what my bag is going to look like. So the bottom gusset, it says here exterior fabric. I wrote in beside it vinyl. So I know I want to cut vinyl out of that one. So I just went through and did all of that. Again, now this is a little bit different because she talks about trimming a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but now you'll have the pattern piece. Sorry, you've got real bad glare there. There we go. So there I highlighted Peltex. This one, doing the back assembly, because you've got a piece of woven interfacing, then you do your Peltex over top of it, then you do your full woven interfacing over that. Again, just to clarify for myself, I went in and I just highlighted the different pieces or fabrics and stuff that I'm going to be needing right there. So again, anything for me that makes it easier to reference. And I didn't print these out in color either because I knew that Celine was going to have changes and stuff to it. So I will print it out in color once the finalized, as I'm shooting this, the finalized version is not out yet. So I will be waiting for that. So anyway, that's what I can tell you about organizing. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some different stabilizers or interfacings. The first one, now in this bag, we're not using this, but I just wanted to kind of go through it just for some information's sake. So this particular brand is Annie's Soft and Stable. So when they ask for foam, that's what this is. It has I don't know if I can get it to focus in there, but there's a foam layer in between, and there's a knit on both sides. It's kind of fuzzy. Lots of people use headliner, and really, if you think about in your vehicles, this is very similar to what it is. So whatever you use, but if you're not familiar with what foam is, when they ask for foam interfacing, this is what it is. It gives great structure to bags. It's very nice to use. The next one is fusible fleece. So this one is fusible. I think it only comes in fusible. I'm not sure. That's all I have purchased it in. So the one side, the little shiny side here, or there you can see, well, maybe not in here, but you can see the little glue spots. They're kind of sparkly and stuff. So anyway, this is much thinner. It's almost like quilt batting. It's not the same. It does not have, quilt batting would not stand up unless it's quilted. If you washed it, quilt batting does tend to bunch up. But this, it's kind of soft. It has a little bit of cushion to it. But yeah, so this is fusible fleece. The next one is Peltex. This one is really hard. It's really stiff. We use it a lot in the bottoms of the bags. Anywhere where you need a little bit of reinforcement, if you're going to use rivets or sometimes the turn locks, things like that you're going to attach. It's nice to have a little piece of Peltex in there, just so that you give some extra stability. So this is really hard, or this is really stiff. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps you. This comes in 3 different ones. Now, Peltex is, I believe, the Pellon brand, but this one that I'm holding right here is non-fusible, so it's sew-in. It comes fusible one side, and it also comes fusible both sides. I don't know that nobody that I know of has used the double-sided, but maybe there is a use for it. Obviously there is, because they make it. So I have a little bit of the sew-in, but mostly I have the fusible. So that's what that is. Now these next two, this one you're going to be familiar with. This is SF101. It's a woven product. Makes it great because what it does is when you fuse it to, say, cotton, it acts very much like the fabric that it's fused to. So it tends not to wrinkle and crinkle and stuff like some of the non-woven ones do. So this is SF101. It doesn't have a lot of body to it. It's a great stabilizer. I use it more so probably in linings. That's my personal preference. So that's what this one is. Now the other one This is the one that I have moved more toward. This one, again, is a woven product. This one, the brand name is Presto, Presto. And this one specifically is Presto Firm. There is a lot of body to it. When I compare it to the SF101, there's no comparison. So again, it acts more like your fabric does. Doesn't wrinkle and crinkle. Maybe slightly more than the SF101, but I like the body that it gives. So that's why I like to use this product. Now, Presto does make 3 different weights of this. They make Presto Sheer, which is it's a very sheer product. Not super impressed with it. I think it would be great for garment making, garment sewing, when you're using more sheer fabrics. It's expensive too. It's about double the price of the other ones. Then they have the Presto, just called Presto. It is very, very similar, almost exactly the same as the SF101. And then the other one is the Presto Firm. So I have a bolt of the Presto Firm right now. I did manage to find that. I think I have found a Canadian supplier for it that does online. Again, I will let you know all of that information as soon as it's available. So, yeah. So if you're looking for it in the States, look for Presto. I have not had much luck finding it online. So, whether it's a new product or not, I don't know. But I'll keep you informed when I know anything more. So, anyway, that is what I have to say about interfacing and stabilizers. If you have any more questions about it, please feel free to contact me. So I have this little basket sitting on my cutting table here. This is a whole bunch of, they're just scraps and stuff of different interfacings. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually just starting to do my cutting. So I've just grabbed a large piece out of here, and all I'm doing is I'm tracing. This one was a mirror image, so I need to do one this way, then flip it over and do it this way. This one was my thumb lock, so I've got 2 of those, and I'm just going around all the different ones. Now this is, I need 2 of this interfacing. This is another tab, so all I do is I'm working on the right side, the non-glue side, and I'm just taking my purple marker. These templates make life so easy for me this way. All I'm doing is I'm just getting a rough draft here, and I'm using up as much of my little scraps and stuff as I can. I can iron this properly after, but I'm not super picky, but I like to use up as much scraps as possible. There's usually little pieces to every pattern. So now I have those 2 there that are all cut out. I'll show you kind of what I'm getting at. With these, I'm not going to fussy cut. I'm not going to cut on my lines. I'm just going to do a really rough. I don't want it too far outside the lines, but I'm not worried about how close I get, because I'll worry about that cutting after I fuse this to my fabric. Then I do the proper cutting. So I only have to do that once, and I only have to as well outline these once. I also don't want too much waste of my fabric. That's why I'm going to get fairly close to my lines, and I'm just going to continue on cutting everything out of my interfacing, of my woven interfacing, because pretty much every piece of the pattern gets interfaced. So, yeah, so that's what I'm going to start doing. I am using my Presto Firm, again, because I like the feel of it. I like the firmness of it. So just to kind of show you, once I get really kind of rocking and rolling here, I have all of my pattern pieces. Like I said, pretty much everything gets interfaced. So I have all of my pieces. I have them lettered just to make things easier for me later on. But I'm just going to rough cut them out, and then I can fuse them onto what they need to be fused onto, and then actually do the fine-tuned cutting. So now I have all of my fusible woven interfacing is cut for all of my pieces. I've got them all rough cut. The stuff, the extras that don't have the pattern pieces, they're here and some there. Those I have all cut as well. Those obviously aren't rough cut because I'm not going to draw my lines and then cut them later. I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler for cutting those. I'm also going to use my ruler for cutting the fabric for those ones. So now I've got all of my interfacing done. I'm going to go back now and I'm going to find all of my pieces that I need to do my fusible fleece with. So that's going to be next. So one of the steps that we have to do with the fusible fleece specifically is that we need to cut 3/8 of an inch off of each side so that the fleece is not in our seam allowance as well. It'll cut down on the bulk there as well for when we have to do extra stitching and that kind of stuff. So instead of just continuing on with my cutting, I'm going to do that right now. That way I know these pieces are done, and then I don't end up forgetting about it later on. Now you can do it one of two ways. You can either draw a 3/8 inch line and then cut it out, or if you're pretty good at guesstimating, then you just go ahead and cut 3/8 of an inch inside your marked line. I'm just going to talk a little bit about dealing with the peltex. It's not really about the peltex, it's about our cutting. I've got my templates. When I cut out my templates, I tried really, really hard to get both of my corners symmetrical. So what I did was I folded it in half. I kind of cut out both sides, but then I folded it in half to make sure that everything kind of lined up. I went over this in my NCW, in the XXL videos, when I was talking about the front flaps. But I spent time to make sure that this is my little peltex piece, not the main body, or sorry, the fabric part of it. This is specifically to the peltex one. So I spent extra time making sure that both of these were very symmetrical on both of these. These are really noticeable. If your finished corners aren't nice and symmetrical, you've got one that's round and one that's kind of square, it's going to show in your final product. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to give you as much information to focus on the little things as I can. So when I go to cut this one out, I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to try and stay as much on my lines, because if I trace this properly and my template is very accurate, then chances are my cutting is going to be as well, or my pattern, my trace line is going to be accurate. So I'm going to try and cut this as accurately as I possibly can. I'm not as worried about the bottom. It looks pretty good, but I'm going to double check it. You can fold this stuff, you can iron it back straight again if you want. So I'm going to check from both sides, and it looks pretty good to me. This one I can see there's a little bit of a nub there, and I'm going to explain this later on why this is, to me, why this is so important. I'm going to be using this as my stitching guide, I guess. When I sew this piece, or what this slides into, when I sew that together, I'm going to lay this on my fabric, and I'm going to draw my line on the outside of it. And that line is what I'm going to try and stay really, really close to for my stitching line. So I'm actually going to, instead of trying to use the outside of my fabric as some sort of a guide with my seam allowance, I'm actually going to use this as my template for my stitching line. So I will show you that later. But again, that's why I want these so symmetrical. So I'm just going to get ready now to do some fusing. There's an old commercial. Now I'm really going to show my age. I think it was an old Chanel commercial for Chanel number 5, and the model said in her fancy French accent, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful." And every time I use this and I think of showing you people, I think, oh, don't hate me because I have my own heat press. Yeah, don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hate me because I have a steam press. This thing is life-changing. I just absolutely love it. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and show you this. See, here I am laughing at my own jokes. But this is just my front flap. There's not a lot of pieces, of pattern pieces that I'm going to do because I'm going to be doing some in vinyl. So this is one of them. So here again, I've just got my rough cut. My lines are really starting to fade. I think when I heat it up here, they'll show up again. Even if they can fade completely, I can still just take my pattern piece and trace over them and before I cut it out. But this way, I only have to fussy cut, or what I call fussy cut. Precision cut maybe is a better word for it. I only have to do that once. So I always use a cloth, pressing cloth over top, especially in my press. And it just goes down. It's going to wait for 10 seconds and then it's going to beep. And there we go. It's as simple as that. Boy, I tell you, it takes pressing to an all new level. And yeah, my lines did come back up again. So now if I cut it out now, then for sure I'll have everything that I need there. So I am using vinyl in a few spots on my bag. I'm using it for the back of the bag, the back of the main body. So this is pattern letter is A. Now I do fuse my vinyl, but I do a test fuse every single time. I don't care how many times I've used that same piece of vinyl. I do a testing one first. The heat press, again, does give me a bit of an advantage because I know that I'm not more than 10 seconds in any spot on there. So I know that my vinyl, if I do my test one first and everything looks fine with my vinyl, I know that when I do with my press again on my good piece, I'm going to have the same consistent pressure and time with it. So, and even when I think to myself, I've used this before and it was fine, I still do a test because you know how that works. Every single time you say, oh no, it's going to be fine, that's when disaster strikes. So here I am with my vinyl. So now it does curl up, but when I put it on a cool surface, and even now, as it cools down, it's going to start to uncurl again. But there's no melting, there's no problems at all with it, so I'm good. So again, this is my lining, and I'm just kind of slowly, methodically, just fusing down all my interfacing pieces, and then I'm going back over and cutting them out. So I'm just kind of doing everything in steps. I did all of my interfacing pieces first, my woven interfacing, because I think pretty much every single piece gets interfaced first. Some will also have the peltex. One will have peltex. Some have peltex inserted later on. There's lots of lining pieces. There's a few that have fusible fleece on them as well. I'll show you, I'll be fusing some fleece on as well. But yeah, I'm just kind of, once I have all my interfacing pieces, that is half the battle right there. my interfacing, my fusible fleece, like any of the different stabilizers. Then I can match those up with the corresponding pattern pieces, or the either the lining or the outer fabric, and then that kind of helps me make sure that I have everything done. So as well as marking them off on the chart. So I don't have the proper chart, like I said. I'm doing this kind of in advance, so I don't have that to show you. So, but this is what I'm doing. This is all the lining. So I'll just continue on. So this is where I'm fusing my fusible fleece onto, this is a lining piece. So I've got it, it's already interfaced. Then I'm going to center this on here. Again, because we cut it back, it's going to be cut out of the seam allowance. So there, all I'm doing, again, pressing cloth over top. And I'm going to do this for all of the pieces that need the fusible interfacing. Sorry, the fusible fleece put on them. This is my my long strap, my adjustable strap, and because I had the directional fabric, I needed to sew it together. So I do have a seam right here. I don't do my fusing until after I sew it together, so that I don't have in that seam, I don't have a whole bunch of bulk. So I've just got here, I've got my interfacing cut. When I do this, I will often cut mine just a tiny bit short, or narrower, because it's not going to make any difference. And then it keeps me from necessarily like going over the edges and stuff. So, and I'm just going to lay that on there. Going to slide this down. So again, I've got one piece of peltex. My seam is right here, and I'm going to end up just fusing that right down. So I'm just going to butt this up. You can overlap it slightly if you want. There's no reason not to piece. I mean, within reason. I don't like to have like all kinds of seams in my peltex either. Oh, look at that. Notice how that's shiny there. I had it upside down. See? It happens to me too. Thank goodness I catch it most of the time. So I'm going to slide that down a little bit further. And that's it. I'm just going to keep going like this. So the last thing that we're going to deal with fusing is the back piece. So I'm using vinyl. This is the main body A. I have one piece of interfacing on here already. Now I am using fusible peltex, so I'm going to fuse this down. So I'm going to center it the best that I can. Got about 1/2 inch all the way around. So that's fused on, but we have one more layer of interfacing because we want this peltex to be held really, really tight. And you know what? My peltex moved. So I'm doing this fairly carefully. I don't want to be too hard on anything. My vinyl is still a little bit warm. So I'm able just to pull that off. I should have known. I should have gone and just steamed my peltex slightly because it had that fold in it. And that's what happened. See, now it'll stay where it's supposed to. So I'm going to do it again. There, that's better. And one more time. So center this over everything. Looks good. There we go. Press that down again. And when I'm done this, I'm probably going to end up later on taking my iron just around that very outside edge. It does a pretty good job this way. I don't know if you can quite see. Yeah, this is a little warm, especially with the vinyl. There's a little bit of a ridge there. And if I run my iron just along that ridge, it actually seals it down a little bit better. So that's what I will do as well. But yeah, so that is the assembly of that back piece. So there I have all of my pieces now. Everything is cut out, everything's fused, and I am ready to start sewing and assembling. May have a couple of things to mark yet, but I can do that as I go along as well though. But yeah, there you have it. So I'm all ready to go. It's exciting and I can hardly wait to get started.